that being said, let's pivot. Let's pivot, man, because we got to talk about Xander Zayas, right? Xander Zayas, because he became unified champion, and I want to first and foremost say I'm proud of Xander. Yes, he's Puerto Rican, we know that, and he represents that very loudly. But Xander Zayas did spend very important parts of his childhood in South Florida, training at the Davy Powell as an amateur. He's a product of the South Florida boxing gyms, and he's one of our own. So I'm happy to see him do well. I remember seeing Xander Zayas when he was a young kid 7 years ago. I'm talking about, so like, what was he? He's 23 now. So I'm talking about 16-year-old Xander Zayas. I remember seeing him shorter than me, and I'm pretty sure shorter than me, running around the gym, just trying to learn as much as he could. And it's great to see where he's gotten now in his career. But what's crazy about Xander is like he became unified world champion, and for a lot of boxing fans, somehow that's not good enough. Somehow he is blamed for beating the guys that have the belts. Now, it's not like Jaron Ennis or Vergil Ortiz don't have big promoters. They got Oscar De La Hoya and Eddie Hearn behind them respectively. Why didn't their promoters put them in position to fight for the world title? Why didn't one of them try to go fight Bachram before Kelly did, right? You can't criticize the fighter that's going out there and making it happen, because as I stated earlier, boxing is a results-based business. So all that matters is results. Doesn't matter about nothing else. Results. Even if the results I don't like, if I think a guy got robbed, it don't even matter. That's the result, right? So my thing is this fight game is unforgiving as hell. It's hard to even win one world title. Some guys don't win any world titles in a whole lifetime, right? Many guys, the majority, the 99 point whatever percent of boxers that turn pro don't win a world title. So if you do it one time, it's amazing. If you do it 2 times, now you're even at a higher level. If you do it 2 times in the same weight class, now you're like really, really on a high level. And if you do it 2 times in the same weight class and you only 23, come on, man. What are we talking about? What are we talking about? Y'all better stop disrespecting Xander Zayas. All right? Y'all better stop disrespecting him. Because I'll tell you this. Before he had a world title, he tried to fight Fundora. He tried to fight Vergil Ortiz. They didn't want to fight. All right. So, anyway, we'll go to screen share because I got some tweets I want to read to you guys and kind of give my little reactions to. So, shout out to my this guy, Zach Schumacher. He says, Xander Zayas is the real deal. To put on that kind of performance at 23 years old is special. Boxing has its next Puerto Rican star. Get used to seeing this face. Now, look, Xander Zayas, I want y'all to understand something. I want y'all to put yourself in Xander's shoes. See, like Vergil Ortiz and Jaron Ennis, yeah, they're big stars, but they wasn't big stars when they turned pro. They weren't televising Jaron Ennis or Vergil Ortiz or Bachram Razaliev or whoever, Josh Kelly. They weren't televising these guys from their pro debut. This is the youngest fighter to ever sign a promotional contract at Top Rank, 50 plus years in the game, promoted all the greats, the youngest one to sign a contract. To top it all off, he was Puerto Rican too. So from the beginning, the expectation for Xander Zayas was always that he was supposed to be the guy that was gonna, start filling the shoes that were left behind by Miguel Cotto in Puerto Rican boxing when he retired. You know what it's like to fight with that pressure on you every single fight? Every time you fight a tough gatekeeper or a veteran fighter, they're coming for your head because they want your head on a platter because they want to be the guy that exposes you as a hype job. Every time Xander's fought, up until this fight Baraou, every time he's fought Baraou, and really with this fight Baraou, it really shouldn't have been a split. They were very generous to Abass Baraou, but apart from the Abass Baraou fight, every time Xander has fought, it's been a consistent, controlled, mature, methodical performance. There's not many fights where you can really say he lost 3 rounds, and he ain't fought a bunch of cans like a lot of you guys think. So my thing is, I give this young man a lot of respect. He didn't have to, when he won the title against Jorge Garcia Perez, he didn't have to unify anybody. right? He could have fought somebody in the top 15, do it voluntary. He said, no, I'm gonna fight this guy, and I'm gonna become champion at 23, and he did it. So there's something to be said about that, and I wish people would respect him more, but it is what it is. Hopefully, some of your guys, fair fighters, start going ahead and making these big fights happen, because you guys get mad at the guy who's making the fights happen. It ain't he ain't the one ducking fights. He ain't the one avoiding fights. He wanted to fight Fundora. He wanted to fight Vergil Ortiz. Boots, okay, I'll give you Boots. He hasn't really been overly vocal about Boots. So if you want to say Boots, fine. Okay, I won't push back too much on that. But it's not like Boots was jumping up to fight him, because Boots, people like me were asking Boots to go fight Bakram. First fight at 154, because people like me thought that Jaron Ennis was good enough to fight Bakram at 154. And a lot of people met me with criticism saying, well, no, why can't Boots get a tune-up? That was the conversation, right? And now look, Bakram got exposed by Josh Kelly. And so I kind of feel like, I don't want to say it was a complete missed opportunity, because they're looking at doing Boots versus Josh Kelly next. But again, that could have been him straight away if he wanted to, if he was really like that, right? If the promoters really believed in him, they would have did it. They didn't. So that's just reality. But nonetheless, real briefly, speaking of Boots and speaking of Vergil, I want to talk about a guy that Boots and Vergil should look into fighting in the future. Maybe not next, but definitely in the future. Okay? And I'm going to tell you guys who it is. They need to go look into fighting the guy that Xander just fought, Abass Baraou, because I'll say this, man. I didn't think that Abass Baraou was worthy of losing by split decision. I thought Xander boxed more than well enough and won enough rounds clearly to have won by UD. And it was actually one of the rare times where the B-side fighter actually got generous treatment on the scorecards, really, because even they asked him himself. They said, hey, when you heard split decision, did you think you won the fight? He said, no, I didn't think I won the fight. Xander won fair and square, right? So I'm saying all this to say that I still think he won like probably 4 rounds, maybe 4 rounds. He won 4 rounds. He definitely showed some chinks in Xander's defense. Xander was getting caught the right hand a lot. And he showed that he's a dog. He's a worthy competitor. And he's a guy that I hope, I'm praying to God, boxing don't throw the wayside. So I'm gonna give y'all a true school advisory tip once again, free of charge. If Vergil Ortiz and Jaron Ennis, they can't get a deal done with each other, okay, cool. They can't get it done. Fight Abass Baraou. Fight him. Former world champion. Gave Xander a good fight. Fought him on paper at least to a split decision loss, right? So you have a chance to make a statement. You go and you knock him out. You knocked out a former world champion. You knocked out a guy that Xander only beat by split decision. That makes you look better, right? So just a healthy alternative. All in all, I give my respect to Abass Baraou because he went straight into the unification fight. Now, you can sit here and say, like, well, Abass Baraou had to go into unification BT. He's not no big-name fighter. He doesn't got a big network behind him or a big-time promoter rolling him all this money. And that's true. That is true. But you'd be surprised. A lot of fighters don't even have what Abass Baraou has, management-wise, training-wise, and they turn down fights like crazy. So I'm never going to down a fighter for stepping up to the plate and making – a unification fight happen. Not Xander, not Abass Baraou, not anybody. So this is my plea to the boxing game to not forget about this warrior. If he can't fight Boots and Vergil, then there's still guys out there. Maybe he can fight Usima Lima, who won yesterday, right? Maybe he could fight Bakram. Maybe he could fight Josh Kelly or who, I don't know who, but whoever it is, I want to see this guy only with top 5 contenders and champions. That's it. He deserves that much. He deserves to be on our TV screens because he's a fun fighter to watch. He's a skillful fighter to watch, and he conducts himself like a champion inside the ring and outside the ring. So I'll leave it at that. Shout out to Abass Baraou, man. We want to see that fight. And then as far as my last Xander Zayas talking point, because I don't want to drag this out. very, very intriguing stuff. And I'll go to screen share for this. Shout out to everybody here. Make sure you smash that like button. I'll get your comments in a second. So Xander Zayas, he called out the whole division. He pretty much said, look, any and all the champions are more than invited to come to Puerto Rico and fight me, right? And you got, a lot of people may say like, well, BT, Xander Zayas has to be realistic. He can't really demand that anybody come to Puerto Rico and fight him because that's ducking. Who is Xander Zayas? And to that, I would say, who is Xander Zayas? He's the WBO and WBA unified champion. So he has half the belts in this division. That gives Xander Zayas leverage in any negotiation. Boots doesn't have a title. Vergil doesn't have a title, right? So there's that. Then on top of that, I don't know if the official attendance figures were, so I'm not going to go ahead and act like I know. But Xander Zayas had that place pretty damn full, and it was loud. It was very, very loud. And you can only imagine with him winning this fight and getting another belt, if he fights in Puerto Rico again, the crowd will be even bigger. If he fights someone with a bigger name than Abass Baraou, the crowd will be even bigger. More fans will come out. More Puerto Ricans come out, So he called all the champions out. But one of the guys he called out was Josh Kelly. And the reason I'm bringing up Josh Kelly is because Kelly, and credit to him, he did beat Bakram. I thought Bakram was going to beat him. So credit to him. He slayed the dragon. He beat the boogeyman, right? Not these other guys. So he deserves credit. But Josh Kelly was called out by Xander. He said it right here. He said, if Josh Kelly wants to get it on by the summer, I would like to invite him to Puerto Rico or New York City. Now, I know that Boots versus Kelly is a matchroom versus matchroom fight. And that's what Eddie Hearn's going to push for. But at the end of the day, these fighters have teams. Like Adam Booth and his management, like they have to look after Josh Kelly's best interest financially. And I'm going to say this. Xander has two of the belts. If they fight, that's a 3-belt unification fight. And on top of that, Xander is becoming a bigger commercial draw in Puerto Rico. So 3-belt unification, big crowd, good purse. Is it possible that Xander Zayas could potentially steal the Jaron Ennis fight away, or steal the Josh Kelly fight away from Jaron Ennis? I'm going to say probably not. I think Josh Kelly will probably fight Jaron Ennis because they had a contract signed. But I'm saying this to say that it's very possible that this is a possibility. When you just lay it out, listen to what I'm telling you guys. WBA title on the line, WBO title on the line, IBF title on the line. That's 3 belts, okay? Puerto Rico, UK, 2 big boxing markets with 2 built-in fan bases. You'd be crazy to think that Josh Kelly's team wouldn't consider Xander Zayas. And then when you get into the boxing standpoint, let's just call a spade, all right? Xander Zayas does a lot of things very, very well, but he does nothing great. You understand me? Let me repeat that again. Xander Zayas does many things very well, but he does nothing great. If you grade his skill set, punching power, speed, reflexes, all that stuff, he's like at 7.5 to 8 everywhere, but he's not like a 6 or a 5 or a 3 anywhere. You understand? Probably the attribute that Xander lacks the most probably is his power, because he doesn't really finish guys like that. Maybe that'll come later on down the road, but he's not really finishing guys like that for the most part at the top level. So, you compare that to what Jaron Ennis brings into the ring, right? There's more to work out with Jaron Ennis. Jaron Ennis, just like Kelly, is just as athletic, if not more athletic, right? And Josh Kelly normally enjoys the athleticism advantage over opponents. So if you get another guy in there with Kelly who's just as athletic as him, that could offset a lot of the things that Kelly can and likes to do. So even from a boxing standpoint, I feel like Team Kelly, when I say Team Kelly, I'm not talking about Eddie Hearn. I'm talking about Adam Booth, his trainer. I'm talking about his management. I'm talking about everybody around him on a day-to-day basis in the gym. They're going to look at this fight and think that this is a more winnable fight. And if they believe that and they want to roll the dice, if Kelly can go beat Xander Zayas, think about it. If Kelly can go beat Xander Zayas, Eddie Hearn gets the dream scenario. he gets the scenario where Jaron Ennis and Josh Kelly now becomes the fight to make for Undisputed, which means that Eddie Hearn wouldn't lose at all. He would get the Undisputed champion regardless if Kelly wins or Jaron Ennis wins. So as the old saying goes, it's high risk, high reward. You know, you weigh your options. And I just think from a commercial standpoint, from a boxing standpoint, Team Kelly, I believe, even if they've signed the contract for the Jaron Ennis fight, doesn't mean that they won't consider, exploring the potential for a Xander Zayas fight, So we'll see how it goes. I just want to throw it out there because I do think it's a possibility. I really, really do. You understand? So we'll see how it goes. But